Some stories are best left untold. Tonight, you'll hear 5 true tales that will haunt your dreams. We're diving into stories that make you check over your shoulder, urban legends and cursed objects that feel a little too real. From a phone call you never want to receive to a camera that captures more than memories, these tales tap into our deepest fears. So, get comfortable, but maybe leave a light on. Are they just stories, or are they warnings? Take a deep breath. Let's begin with our first tale. The phone call you hope never comes. The Midnight Caller is an urban legend whispered in hushed tones, a story that has taken on a life of its own, morphing and spreading with every retelling. There are countless versions, each with their own chilling details, but they all begin the same way. A phone rings in the dead of night, its shrill sound slicing through the silence. The caller ID reads "unknown number," and the air seems to grow colder as you reach for the phone, heart pounding in your chest. Sarah, a young woman living alone, finds herself in this very situation. The apartment is quiet, shadows stretching across the walls, the only sound the ticking of a distant clock. She hesitates, but curiosity and a strange sense of dread compel her to answer. She presses the phone to her ear, her voice barely above a whisper as she says, "Hello?" But there's nothing, just a heavy, unnatural silence that seems to press in from all sides. Suddenly, the silence is shattered by a distorted, raspy voice that seems to echo from another world. It utters just 2 words: 7 days. The voice is so unnatural, so chilling, that Sarah's blood runs cold. Before she can respond, the line goes dead, leaving her alone with her racing thoughts and the echo of those words ringing in her ears. At first, Sarah tries to dismiss it as a prank, a bad dream, or maybe just her imagination running wild. But as the days pass, strange and inexplicable things begin to happen. She hears faint whispers in rooms she knows are empty, sees objects shift ever so slightly when she looks away, and constantly feels the prickling sensation of being watched by unseen eyes. The atmosphere in her apartment grows heavier, more oppressive, as if something is lurking just out of sight. Sarah's friends laugh it off when she tells them, brushing it aside as a silly story or a case of nerves. But for Sarah, the fear is all too real. She stops sleeping, haunted by nightmares of shadowy figures and endless ringing phones. Paranoia takes hold, and she isolates herself, afraid to leave her apartment, afraid to answer the phone, afraid of what might happen when the 7th day arrives. On the 7th day, Sarah disappears without a trace. Her apartment is found in chaos, furniture overturned, belongings scattered, as if she left in a desperate hurry. Her phone lies on the floor, screen glowing with a single missed call from unknown. No one saw her leave, and no one knows where she went. The police investigate, but there are no clues, no evidence, nothing to explain her sudden vanishing. The call can't be traced, the number doesn't exist. It's as if the call came from nowhere, or perhaps from somewhere not of this world. Weeks later, one of Sarah's skeptical friends, who had laughed at her fears, receives a call in the middle of the night. The same unknown number flashes on the screen. Hesitantly, they answer, and the same chilling voice whispers, "You're next. 7 days." The cycle begins anew. The curse spreads like a virus, passed from one person to the next through the invisible web of phone lines. It preys on our deepest fears, the fear of being hunted, of being watched, of being powerless against something we can't see or understand. Each call is a countdown, a promise that the darkness is coming for you next. This isn't a monster you can fight or a ghost you can banish. It's a voice in the dark, a relentless countdown that ticks away the days, feeding on your terror and isolation. No matter how hard you try to escape, the call always finds you. So the next time your phone rings late at night and the caller ID reads unknown, think twice before you answer, because the midnight caller could be waiting for you, and your 7 days might be about to begin. This next story is about a cursed recording, the lost tape. In the late 80s, a sound engineer named David finds an unmarked reel at a radio station. When he plays it, it's mostly static, but beneath it, a faint, unrecognizable voice. David becomes obsessed, trying to isolate the voice. The more he listens, the worse he feels. Headaches, paranoia, the sense of being watched. Lights flicker, equipment malfunctions, and David hears footsteps when he's alone. After a week, he's found catatonic, the tape still playing static. He never recovers. The tape is locked away, but it vanishes when the station is sold. Copies surface online. Some who listen report the same symptoms: dread, headaches, the feeling that something is always listening. The legend says the curse is in the sound itself. Once you hear it, it never leaves you. So, if you ever find an old tape labeled Static Man, think twice before you press play. This story isn't about a haunted object or a cursed artifact. It's about a home, a place meant to be a sanctuary that slowly, insidiously, turns against the very people who live within its walls. Imagine a house that doesn't just shelter you, but watches, listens, and waits. The Harris family moves into what they believe is their dream house. The paint is fresh, the rooms are filled with sunlight, and laughter echoes through the halls. At first, everything is perfect, almost too perfect. The family feels lucky, as if they've finally found a place to call home. But soon, the atmosphere shifts. It starts with faint noises at night, barely audible scratching behind the walls, like tiny claws or fingernails. Then, late at night, come the whispers. At first, they're so soft the family thinks it's just the wind or the house settling. The parents dismiss it as imagination, but their young daughter insists she hears voices. She begins talking to the people who live inside the walls, describing them in unsettling detail. Her parents grow uneasy, but try to reassure her and themselves that it's just a phase. The whispers grow louder, more distinct. Sometimes the voices are crying. Other times, they speak in a language no one in the family understands. Shadows flicker across the walls. Faces seem to form and dissolve in the plaster. The family begins to unravel. Sleepless nights turn into days filled with paranoia and tension. Arguments erupt over nothing. The once happy home is now filled with suspicion and fear, as if the house itself is feeding on their misery. Desperate for answers, Mark, the father, drills into the wall, convinced there must be something hidden inside. But all he finds is insulation and a cold, unnatural draft. For a moment, the whispers stop, and the family dares to hope it's over. But then, the silence is shattered. A voice deeper and more powerful than before booms from every wall in the house. "Get out!" The command is impossible to ignore, vibrating through the floorboards and rattling the windows. Terrified, the Harris family grabs what they can and flees into the night, never looking back. They leave behind their belongings, their dreams, and the house that drove them away. The house sits empty for months, but eventually, new owners move in. Each time the same story repeats, scratching, whispers, voices that drive the residents to madness. No one stays for long. Some neighbors whisper that the house was built on an old burial ground, that restless spirits are trapped beneath the foundation, forever seeking release. Others believe that a terrible tragedy once occurred within these walls, and that the pain and sorrow have seeped into the very structure, poisoning it for all who enter. But no matter the theory, everyone agrees on one thing. The house doesn't want anyone inside. It makes its wishes known, in whispers and screams, in shadows and cold drafts. Sometimes the scariest stories aren't about ghosts or monsters. They're about the places we're supposed to feel safest. When your own home turns against you, where can you run? And sometimes the old saying is true. The walls really do have ears. They listen, they remember, and sometimes they speak back. So if you heard voices behind your walls, would you dare stay another night? Or would you run before the house decides you can never leave? Hotels are full of stories, but none like the mirror in room 13 of the Grand Hotel. Staff and guests see things in the mirror: shadows, faces that aren't their own, reflections that move on their own. Some see themselves aging, others see their own deaths. One skeptic saw himself drowning. Days later, he vanished, his car found by a lake. Attempts to remove the mirror fail. Accidents, tools breaking, the mirror refusing to budge. The hotel closes the room, removes the number, but staff still hear laughter behind the locked door. The mirror remains, a reminder that sometimes our reflections aren't just us. There's something else, watching, waiting. If you ever find yourself in an old hotel, check the mirror twice, because sometimes what's looking back isn't you, and it might not let you leave. Our final story is about a camera that doesn't just capture memories, it predicts tragedy. This isn't just any camera, but a relic from another era, its lens clouded with secrets and its body heavy with the weight of untold stories. Some say it's cursed, others whisper it's haunted, but all agree, it's not a camera you want to own. Alex, a young photography enthusiast, stumbles upon this vintage Polaroid in a dusty pawn shop. Drawn to its mysterious aura, he buys it on a whim, unaware of the darkness he's inviting into his life. The first photo he snaps is of his girlfriend, laughing in the sunlight. But as the image develops, a chilling detail emerges, a dark, indistinct shape lurking just behind her, almost as if it's reaching out. Days later, tragedy strikes. His girlfriend is involved in a terrible accident, right near the spot where the photo was taken. The shadow in the picture now seems like a warning, a premonition he failed to understand. Haunted by guilt and curiosity, Alex begins to test the camera. Each new photo reveals a subtle but unmistakable sign of disaster. A shattered mug moments before it falls, a blurred figure mid-fall, a dog frozen in the glare of oncoming headlights. Every image, no matter how strange or impossible, comes true within days. The camera's predictions are never wrong. Alex becomes obsessed, filling his walls with Polaroids, desperately searching for a pattern or a way to break the curse. He documents every eerie photograph, hoping to find a clue. But the more he investigates, the more isolated and paranoid he becomes, convinced that the camera is watching him, waiting for its next move. Finally, in a moment of desperation, Alex turns the camera on himself. The photo that develops is the most disturbing yet. He appears almost transparent, fading from existence with a shadowy figure looming behind him, its features twisted and unrecognizable. Just days later, Alex is found dead in his apartment. The cause, a sudden heart attack at only 24 years old. The police collect the camera as evidence, but when they return to examine it, it's gone, vanished without a trace. Rumor has it the camera is still out there, resurfacing in pawn shops and flea markets, waiting for its next unsuspecting owner. Some say it's cursed to wander forever, always seeking new hands to hold it, new lives to haunt. So if you ever find yourself at a flea market, drawn to an old camera with a strange energy, think twice before you pick it up. Be careful what you choose to capture. Some images are better left undeveloped, because some moments, some secrets, are better left unrecorded. The past can be dangerous, especially when it refuses to stay hidden. Remember, the last photograph you take might not just be a memory. It could be a warning or even a prophecy of your own fate. And if you look closely, you might notice you're not alone in the frame. Sometimes, the shadows are closer than you think. Would you dare to look, or would you leave the camera behind and let its secrets remain in the dark? If you're still watching, you're braver than most people ever dare to be. But remember, some stories never truly end. 5 chilling tales that blur the line between folklore and reality, preying on our deepest, most hidden fears. They remind us the world is stranger and scarier than we think or imagine. Next time your phone rings from an unknown number, think twice. Or if you see something odd in a mirror, remember these stories. Sleep well, if you can tonight. And don't ever stop looking over your shoulder. Some stories are still being written, even now.